It goes 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds, has a range of over 275 miles, and can charge 75% of its battery in just over 20 minutes. The Porsche Taycan, a fully electric 4-seat super sports sedan built to transform one of the most famous petrol-based sporting brands into the 21st century, and perhaps ensure its very survival.
Porsche has a very strong history. People have a certain expectation what Porsche looks like, how it feels like, how it drives, and we have to fulfill this expectation.
To fulfill those lofty expectations with an all-electric vehicle isn't easy. Engineers must develop an entirely new battery system. The design team must create a modern exterior that pays homage to the past. Pilots must test new machines to the max. Giving the machine a Porsche-like appearance requires a sporty stance and a very artful touch. The new EV must look and feel like a classic Porsche, yet it must also convey the marque's move towards electrification.
It was very clear that we need design elements that make it very obvious at the first glance that this is a Porsche. We had already a kind of toolbox with elements that we wanted to use, but knowing as well that we have to use them in a more modern way in our design language.
At first glance, the Taycan might look like a front-engine machine, but thanks to its EV architecture, it's actually missing a conventional motor.
We were very happy that there is no big metal block anymore. We had even more freedom. We could even reinforce our original design theme where the fenders are higher than the hood. When we started, I believe that we need less air intakes. But if you really want to have an EV with this performance, you need air intakes for cooling the batteries and the braking system. So I had to learn that we need at least the same amount of openings.
Designers aren't the only ones getting a handle on EV tech. While the Mission E is based on a viable concept, there's still a tremendous amount engineers need to learn.
We start with a basic configuration where we put the motors, where the battery is, how big the battery should be, and then we start to iterate. Quite a big challenge because we want to have the best looking car, but we also want it to be very, very good in terms of range, in terms of speed and power.
With an internal combustion car, the first concern is where the engine goes. But with an EV, the initial question is where to put the energy source.
We have the giant battery that has to find place in the car.
The massive size and weight of the battery makes its location absolutely critical for handling and performance.
Weight is always the enemy of everything in a car because every kilogram you have in a car is a kilogram that you have to accelerate and you have to stop and you have to turn.
To help the machine feel like a traditional Porsche, the team decides to place the battery at the very bottom of the cabin.
We had long discussions, but we knew that the first EV we want to produce must be a very, very sporty car. And therefore, one big challenge was we need to integrate the underfloor battery.
Resting the battery along the floor of the machine is known as a skateboard layout.
When you're talking about making a car turn or stop well, the best place for you to have that weight is really down low. And that's where Porsche is putting the battery back.
Placing the battery low in the chassis drops the machine's center of gravity, but also creates a problem.
When you are incorporating a battery, you have about 20 centimeters more in height. So we had to try to figure out a way to fit the battery, but make the car as low as possible.
An extra 20 centimeters to the floor of the machine and raise the occupant cell. To combat the additional height, the team designs an entirely new vehicle architecture, dubbed the J1.
We knew if you put the people on top of it, it could be a challenge for the proportion. Therefore, the engineers had this idea with these little holes in the floor.
To give passengers a place to put their feet, the team removes 2 of the 33 individual modules inside the battery pack just before the rear seats.
At the back of the car, we have cutouts in the battery, so you can lower your feet, and therefore we were capable of pushing down the roof.
The solution creates a 3-inch pocket for rear passenger feet and allows the machine to have a dramatic roofline. Better yet, shoehorning the giant battery into the floor of the machine gives the Taycan the lowest center of gravity of any current road-going Porsche.
When range is the most important thing, aerodynamic efficiency becomes the most important thing, and so you need to be low to the ground.
It takes 4 years for the design team to hone the shape of the machine, and equally as long for engineers to dial in the car's new vehicle architecture.